What black market existed in your school? Teachers punished us by making us write "I will refrain from extemporaneous vocalization during valuable pedagogical opportunities" 50 or 100 times as homework. So over the summer we would do up a few hundred sheets of that, and we could sell or use them, as necessary. Even the teachers in Simpsons were smart enough to change up the phrase. I sold P-Mags I'd acquire after Japanese businessmen would leave them in their motel rooms. The cafeteria, not school run, kind of just a cafe inside the school, would charge $3 for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, so one girl kept the ingredients in her locker and charged $1. When the school caught wind and shut it down, they tried to guilt us all by saying how the cafeteria was someone's livelihood and we were taking away from that. But like, $4 for peanut butter? The market adjusts. This is tyrannical regulation. A P-ring. Kids would find their dad's VHS pornos or magazines and sell them to this kid. Then he'd turn around and sell it for profit. Funny thing is that when the principal caught wind of it and found all the pee in his locker but the money wasn't there, the kid used the locker under his and hid it all in the bottom. The pee hustler dude is now a cybersecurity analyst. I asked him at our reunion how much he thought he made back then. He claims $900 in 4 months. Drugs and soda. Same dude too. If you bought a soda from him during school he'd know you weren't a narc and would then sell you weed after. My mum owned a sweet shop and sweets were banned in our school as we had to be healthy meals and all that. So she'd constantly give me bags of sweets to smuggle in and sell every day at dinner. Made an absolute bomb. Made an absolute bomb. Starts with candy dealing. Moves on to terrorism. I used to sell bootleg movies in high school. Not the kind of bootleg where you take a video camera into a theater, but I knew someone who kept getting early versions of movies that I guess are sent to theaters. They had some message about it being for screening purposes only, internal use. I don't remember exactly, and giving them to me. I'd burn a bunch of copies and sell them to people for $5. They were high quality and still early in theaters. They're called screeners. Our high school had an internet filter. An enterprising friend of mine set up a free BSD server in his basement and put together some 256 millibars flash drives with an executable version of Firefox. Could run directly from the flash drive without installs and a SSH client. You could plug it in, connect SSH, then use the server as a proxy for all the Firefox traffic and get around any website you wanted. Those flash drives were a hot commodity, let me tell you. You could set up in the library and just start casually browsing a banned website, and people would start coming up and asking how you could do it. Iodized salt and simple black pepper in the lunchroom. I'm not kidding. This was around 2004, USA. Our cafeteria coordinator was trying to do everything healthy and by government rules, so no added salt. Bogus, but whatever. But she also took the pepper too. Kids in my school didn't really pack lunches, as most of us got reduced lunch. I was P, as they just boiled canned veggies and gave them to you in a bowl with the juice, and wasn't going to stand for it. I was also a huge butthole in high school, so I made a plan. I bought salt and pepper shakers and put them in a zippy bag to carry in my backpack. I broke them out at lunch every day, and shared with about 70 kids. We made it through for about 3 months. And then they finally caught on who had them. I got silent lunch detention in a separate room for a week, and I made sure I put my salt and pepper out on my table every day. But then, when I came back to the normal lunchroom, like 30 people had salt and pepper shakers. Shakers everywhere, and the coordinator was P. Oh, it makes me laugh even today. She still refused to put out salt and pepper, but we all had it anyway. It continued until I graduated from there. PlayStation 1 and 2, memory cards. Stuck on a boss, want the treasures without having to beat the game on ultra hard? There was a guy who in my grade who, for a fee, would play any game and get where you wanted to be, then give you a memory card to copy over the save file. Naturally you had to return the memory card to keep the ball rolling for everyone. The OG pro gamer. In 5th grade I sold fairies to every single one of my classmates for $1 each. I gave them names and backstories and drew little portraits of each, then would toss them an invisible fairy and then collect from the next sucker. Freelance artist. PPPs, positive participation points. These were little yellow tickets that teachers handed out to students who were participating positively. Every month there would be class-wide and school-wide draws for prizes. The more PPPs you had, the greater your chance of winning was. Didn't take long for kids to copy the template in Word and start selling stacks of PPPs. This feels like it's straight out of Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I forget which book, but when the teachers used to give out points for being nice and people would just use the photocopy room to print out stacks of them. JanSport book bag strings. I was in school when JanSport backpacks became popular, at least in NYC they were, and one of the things everyone loved were the strings on the zippers. It became a huge problem where students were stealing strings off of others and either hoarding them or selling them. The solution became using a lighter to partially melt your strings together so they couldn't be untied without breaking them. Leaving your book bag unattended anywhere was the equivalent of leaving your car parked in the wrong neighborhood in 70s NYC. Just remembered I ran a short-lived market selling scientific calculators back in high school as well. I actually found where the school stored theirs and was stealing them little by little. I'm not proud of it, but my morals were very loosey-goosey back then. That is the most specific weird thing ever. Money is money, I guess. I studied in a boarding school, and we had a black market for acorns. Yes, acorns. Kids would collect the acorns from the ground, paint and shape them so that they spin like Beyblades. The other kids would buy them to compete in the acorn battle, which is similar to Beyblade. That's freaking rad though, and this will be my gig when the AI revolution resets us to rural low-tech lifestyles. In 8th grade, 2001, I got a Playboy from my older sister's BF. I cut out the nudes and sold them one at a time to the rest of the guys I knew. A $5 magazine turned into close on $50. I didn't get caught, but a few days later another kid tried the same thing with one he stole from his dad's stash. He was caught. School tells his dad. Dad is unusually off about it. Turns out it's dad's favorite issue BC. It was Cindy Crawford in the centerfold. This is an actual problem with antiquarian books, especially ones with maps. Originally we only had vending machines in the field house, so people would give jocks money to go get them snacks and sodas. Eventually it became sort of like a service, with a fee of course. Some kids mimicked it with junk food from the convenience stores and it became a black market of the rarest candies. Some kids were peddling stuff from Japan, others from the UK. It was a high stakes candy market of the best stuff. Ginger flavored Kit Kats, pear drops, Maltesers, black currant chews, and more. Eventually the faculty began to notice strange ongoings on and alerted the principal, which found the whole thing rather amusing. A few weeks later, we had vending machines throughout the school, but for that one semester, it was a lawless land. Smart principal. He could have done what many would have done, crack down on the sellers, but instead he just undercut the market and dealt with the issue having undergone less hassle. Slime in middle school. The school banned selling slime so people would sell in the hallways or under the table during class. Oh man, I was our high school black market. My sophomore year I believe, the school took all unhealthy snacks and drinks out of the vending machines. Candy, soda. So I stepped up and filled the gap until I graduated. I started carrying around a backpack full to the brim with various full-size candy bars and sodas, all of which I would sell for $1. The sodas were the real moneymaker. I could get a 12-pack for $3 and make 300% profit. On a good day I would generally make around $10, and usually at the very least $3 or $4. The school did give me warnings a few times when they did locker checks and found several boxes of soda and candy bars, but I just claimed they were for me, and nothing came of it. As a senior gift for my ski team, the underclassmen gave me a creepy trench coat from which to peddle my wares. It was great. The year after I left, another kid on the ski team stepped up and started offering the same service. I've been told. Makes me happy to have left something of a legacy. I did this too. Except just the pops, no candy bars. I used to buy 24 packs of pop for about $7 and sold them for $1 each. I usually had to restock 2-3 times a week, cause we had around 1200 kids at that school. Made frickin' bank, it was nice. Our school banned scented gel pens. For some reason. We ran that crap like a prohibition era speakeasy for about 3 months. Anything banned becomes an instant commodity. For some reason kids in my school decided that SX wax, surfboard wax, was cool to chew on. The school banned it. Suddenly everyone was buying and selling SX wax. This was in Colorado, very far from any surf. The 80s were a weird time. In high school, a kid on the wrestling team had parents who constantly went out of town on business. So he drained their swimming pool and would host fight nights with the fights in the pool. It was called Beat That Butt. He facilitated betting and made himself more money than a high school kid should have. He tried to recruit anyone in the school who looked like they could hold their own in a fight. Eventually bands started playing at them and he started burning CDs of each event's music. They were printed and numbered so each one looked like the Now That's What I Call Music CDs, but instead of Now they said BTA. Source was in a band that was asked to play. We declined. He didn't empty and refill the pool for each event. He emptied it once and it stayed empty, but his parents wouldn't have noticed nor cared either way. It might have been called Whoop That Butt. I dunno. It's been a while. I don't know about black market, but we had 2 places you could be during recess, the gym or the playground. During the winter the go-to was the gym. Underneath the bleachers in the gym we legitimately had a Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh gambling ring in which kids would put up their lunch money. I later found out from one of the kids who ran this little exchange that it was actually heavily rigged. Shocker. Bubble gum and chewing gum. It was in middle school. Huge supply for chewing gum. Down the road there was a little cafe that sold those 5 packs of gum for 10 cents. I walked in with a $5 bill and bought as many as I wanted. I sold each stick at 25 cents each and 50 cents for Big Red. I made a huge profit. People started getting jealous and I got into a few fights over the amount of gum I was selling. Finally, the school caught on and told the store not to sell gum to students anymore, and thus my days as a gum dealer ended. Only on Reddit can you find someone as a gum dealer. Not really black market, but I hope that counts. When I was in middle school Beyblade was hyped. I was into it too and found out that there are way newer ones in Japan but not here. Looked further and found fakes that looked almost like the real ones but way cheaper. You know where this is getting. Bought some for me to create interest in them. Showed them the fake boxes all in Japanese so they thought it's real and bought a bunch of them. I made something between 400-500 euros in half a year. Was trying to think of a let it rip joke about how you rip those kids off, but I give up. Well, in college I happened to know all the people that could get me every drug imaginable. Like, forget that we also had chemical engineering students, one of which got caught making high quality M to pay his student loans. Breaking Bad spiritual sequel confirmed. Context: I went to an international school where everyone is rich as frick. So one day in first grade I brought some candy to school and this rich white kid offered me €1 for a 10-cent sweet. This kept on happening for a week. At that point I started buying more candy and bringing it to school. I was filling my pencil case with candy and hiding the money I got from kids in a special rack that I made in my bag with a knife. I carried this on for 2 years until one time my mom was cleaning my bag so the cut and put her hand in and to her surprise there was approx 1,000 euros. My parents beat me so hard I have never tried selling anything ever again. I was one of the first kids in my high school to have a scanner. This was back in the middle 90s and people just didn't really have them. My family did. Student parking passes were $150 each. I bought one and then scanned it and made duplicates that I would sell for $75 each. They looked okay but the school never really checked them that good. They just wanted to see the little thing hanging from your rearview mirror and that it was the right color. The teachers had a different colored one. I stopped doing it after more people had parking passes than there were spaces in the lot. Some people made a lot of money in middle school from selling slime. There was also the obvious vape sellers, but slime interests me more. Kids paid $0.45 for lunch but teachers paid $1.25. Seniors got paper trays and were allowed to eat anywhere on campus. Teachers would pay kids $1 and get lunch delivered. We had these sherbet straws called pixie sticks. Chewing gum. and any trading card. We also had this gambling game that involved getting your coin as close to the wall as possible. Liar's poker with the serial number on dollar bills. I would literally trade bills with my dad till I found one with a grip of aces. Took him 3 months to get curious. Took him 20 minutes to calm down after learning of my gambling with him like that. Took 2 minutes to let him know I had a net positive of around $80. He then proceeded to slip me bills with good number sets. My bus driver in elementary school used to sell Jolly Rancher lollipops on the bus. He wouldn't sell them until we were off school property. The story was he spent time in prison. We called him Slaughter. He had a deep scar that went down the right side of his face. This sounds like a story from the book The Candy Store. Collars. My school required uniforms, namely a polo or button-down shirt with a collar on it. You were allowed to wear a shirt or a sweater over that collared shirt, but you had to have the collar showing at all times. At some point someone got the bright idea to go to a thrift store, buy a bunch of cheap collared shirts, and cut them off. You could then just stick it in whatever shirt you were wearing and bam, it looked like you had a collared shirt on. Blow pops. No, that's not an autocorrect thing. Blow pops. The candy suckers with gum inside. This was high school. We were kinda sheltered. LOL. I commented further down before I saw this. My brother used to sell blow pops in the early 90s. He would buy boxes of 100 for like $4 and sell them for 25 cents each. He made a killing. Homemade slime. Kids in my middle school bought and sold this like some kind of drug deal. Huge fights broke out as kids failed to follow up on various IOUs, some as high as $20. It was wild. I was in elementary school during the beginning of Simpsons mania. For some odd reason, a black market emerged of drawings of Simpsons characters. Bart, Lisa, Homer, Marge. A sheet of their heads would fetch like 25 cents. A $1 got you something more elaborate. It got so bad our school made announcements and cracked down on the trade. Even drawing a Simpsons character on a piece of paper would result in a teacher, staffer, whatever snatching it from you. No questions asked. In junior high, it was blue raspberry blow pops. Our school was next to a bulk store, so kids would get boxes for a few bucks and sell them for 25 cents a pop. A much better way to spend a $0.25. I would get like 50 people a day asking me to airdrop Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, but I got it from someone else who airdropped it to me first. Rightfully so. That movie is dang near perfect. Mountain Dew. One dealer. He makes around $3K a year. Every season he buys out the store of all the special drinks, i.e. Liberty Brew, Holiday Brew, etc., and sells them $1 for $1 or $2.50 for $3. The kid's entrepreneur. I'm glad I know him as a friend so I get special deals. Kool-Aid gummy bears. It started out in middle school with a single friend of mine selling them in little Ziploc bags for about $4 or so. In high school, his older brother, the cook, would cook entire potfuls and give my friend and his friends, the distributors, hundreds to sell at different high schools in the area. Some sold 200 bags in a day. I've tried them twice or so and I must say, they are pretty delicious. The quality improved tons over the 5 years this went on as well. Beta Fish Fight Club. We had open campus lunch so kids would go to the local PetSmart, buy 2 beta fish, sell them to whoever wanted to fight that day, and they would dump the 2 fish in the toilets to fight. Beta fish are notoriously known for having to be kept alone because they'll rip the other fish to fricking shreds. The winner would get flushed down the toilet. So glad I never experienced that stuff. Public school in America is weird. Just want to say I never supported this. It is fricked up, but selling beta fish to fight was a legit black market at my school. And this is why you now have to be 18 plus to get any pet from PetSmart Petco. Smelly pencils. I crap you not. I had it for a fundraiser in high school for our band trip. Walked into the middle school for an hour every day for 2 weeks. My band instructor had to reorder by Wednesday of the first week. I funded about 4 people alone thanks to middle school kids lining up to buy 5-10 at a time. To be fair, Smensels were the crap. Not a black market but a crustacean underground railroad. First, a little background. The sophomore biology class at my high school would dissect crawfish as part of the curriculum. The crawfish were kept in buckets of formaldehyde at the back of the classroom on the ground. Anyone could reach into these buckets and pull a crawfish out while the teachers. It was a weird combined class with 2 teachers because reasons IDK. Backs were turned and no one would be the wiser. I had some friends who had acquired the locker combination to a girl in our group they liked to pull pranks on. One of which was making a mess in her locker with the cherry on top being a stolen crawfish claw placed in the locker among other things. Well, my friend D thought it was hilarious how easy obtaining the claw was that he wanted to see if he could take a whole crawfish without being noticed, which led to how many can be liberated before it's noticed. As the weeks went by, D heroically put himself in harm's way to liberate as many scared dead crawfish to freedom as he could. Each time, D would bring an empty soda bottle to class. When the time was right, he would fill it with formaldehyde to recreate what they are used to. The little guys need to be comfortable after all, and place a crustacean in the bottle. At the end of class he would smuggle them out with no regard for his own safety. By the end of the school year, D had liberated close to 10 crawfish and rehoused them successfully into an empty locker where some say they reside happily to this day. TLDR, I invented softcore flesh trade when I was in kindergarten. I discovered my friend, a girl, didn't have a dong. That was the most freaking mind-blowing thing ever. So I invite my male friends to see her. They were even more mind-blown than me. The next day they asked her to see the lack of dong again, but she refused because she wasn't friends with them. So they came to me and offered me some candy and bubble gum to ask her. Obviously I quickly turned this into a business opportunity, and by the end of the day I had more candy than I could carry in my rather large pockets. I don't think there was anybody in that kindergarten that day, boys, who didn't get to enjoy the view of a smooth tea. I gave her a cut too for every client. The principles of fairness and integrity have always been a huge part of my upbringing. The next day parents were called. Little Pornosonic got yelled at a lot. By the principal of the kindergarten. By her parents. By his parents. Candy had been confiscated. Rights of small and medium entrepreneurs meant nothing in that particular institution. I was pretty amused by this for the first half. Then, halfway through, I realized that my daughter starts kindergarten next week. You bastard. Somewhat related, but when I was in college I ran a free, illegal bar for my friends out of my dorm room using alcohol that I stole. I had a whole system worked out for stealing the booze from this big grocery store chain, and the entire time none of the employees suspected a thing. I made friends with a bunch of them and they would always say hi to me and chat whenever I would go, which was about 2-3 times a week. I actually did get caught for the stealing, but not at that grocery store. Only when I tried to do it at Target back home in Chicago. I got arrested for that and felt really stupid for what I was doing, so I gave up shoplifting. However, I never got in trouble for my bar and I had a lot of fun mixing drinks for my friends. Also made my room the spot to hang out before going to hit the parties later on. Sold Playboy mags to classmates for alcohol when I was 12-13 years of age. It was quite an easy economy. Sunday mornings at 7:30 AM I'd go to the newsagents when no one would be there, pick up a bunch of the adult mags from the understanding newsagent, who realized I was selling them to classmates. Monday morning, distribute them to classmates who bartered with alcohol. So, I was going into school with 3-4 magazines, and 3-4 classmates were coming into class Monday mornings with bottles of beer alcohol in their school bags to trade. Just thinking back, I wish I had sold the alcohol onwards, frick. Good time though. Some funny stories from classes where I knew someone had alcohol in their bags before the trade went down, and could have a bit of fun in class with the teacher, who realized I was selling them to classmates. When you are buying huge amounts, they can tell by your wrist and forearm size if you are a user or a reseller. Rabbit pelts. In 5th grade we went to an Indian Mounds camp and in the gift shop they had rabbit pelts. One kid bought a ton of them and then sold them at a higher markup once we got back to school. He was making good money until the teachers found out. All kinds of software. It started with stacks of diskettes containing MS-DOS 6.22 or games like Stunts and Hot Rod and Leisure Suit Larry. Later we started burning CDs and at some time Twilight CDs started going around. Good times. My friend sold spring rolls. His family was Vietnamese, and they were awesome. He started in grade 9, but by grade 10 had to start taking actual orders during the week and sell any leftovers every Thursday. He did this weekly and was killing it. Much like other comments, selling food at my HS wasn't permitted as we had a cafeteria. My friend was called down to the office by the principal during his math class. We thought it was because he was in trouble, but the principal actually just placed a big order for an event or something. He got away with it. After we graduated he became a chef and I got a job dishwashing at the same restaurant. I asked how much he made. He wouldn't tell me how much he profited himself, but he donated $4,000 to charity. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.